Hello, I'm Matthew K. from Beyond the Brick, and I'm here with David Pagano. And David Pickett is the author of. You and David Pickett are the co-authors
Correct, yes.
of a book called.
The Lego animation
The Lego
book,
animation
forthcoming
book.
from No Starch Press. Yes, I am David Pagano. Hello again, Internet people.
Very nice, very nice. And now, David, we've already discussed numerous different topics relating to the book.
Sure.
But now I think we'd like to focus on narrative and incorporating narrative into your work. And narrative being, what should you animate? And how do you incorporate a story into your animation? How do you convey something in your head for an idea into an animated work with Lego bricks?
Sure. Yeah, narrative is literally storytelling. And we do talk about that in the book too. As I said in one of the previous videos, we talk about sort of the basics and then going into how to animate characters and bring them to life. And then from there, how to use those tools to tell a story, a narrative story. And there's really two main approaches that we talk about in the book that sort of grew out of what we noticed ourselves doing and what we talked about in classes that Dave and I taught. So the first approach is the play approach, which is basically where you build a cool mock and then you play with it. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I built this like ice cream stand. What if like a pirate shows up one day and is like, I want some ice cream or something like that. Like you sort of like do exactly what you did when you were a child, and from that play sort of figure out the story. And it, you can either use that to write the story out or just start animating and be like, oh, okay, I want to animate a shot where the pirate shows up on like a floating scooter. And then it's like, okay, well, what would the next shot be? And you sort of build the story in a very stream of consciousness sort of way. So that's the play approach. And then the other side of that is the plan approach, or what we call the plan approach. And that mirrors more what you would do
Actual production?
in an actual production. You come up with a story, you write a screenplay, you get the script going, you make a shot list, you do storyboards, animatics, then you animate each of the shots, put them all together, and do your post-production and sound and all that kind of good stuff. It's the sort of more, if you are neurotic like I am and you need to plan everything out to a T, it's actually very useful for stop motion because since stop motion animation takes such a long time, anytime you can animate something and be like 97 or 98% positive it will be in the final film, do it, because then you're not spending 5-6 hours
days
animating
on
a shot that's like, oh, well, we don't really need that shot, I'm going to cut it out. There goes 5 hours of my life, goodbye forever.
That's awesome.
So those are the two main approaches that we talk about in terms of how to build a narrative, and how to get your story going.
And now when I think of stop motion animation, Lego stop motion animation, I always try to ascribe like a genre to it almost, or is it comedy, is it action, is it, and I have not done this, it now sounds like something cool to do possibly, but to go onto YouTube and maybe scroll through, do a census, or not a census, but like a sampling of maybe 200 random videos, and what's the most common genre?
Interesting.
And what is the most or best genre, I guess, for Lego animation in your opinion? What would that be? Or is it applicable to everything?
Well, you know, the nice thing about Lego animation and brick filming is it's not a genre, it's a medium. So you can get stories that are weird and creepy. You can get stories that are hilarious. You can get stories that are thought-provoking. Obviously, minifigures have painted on smiley faces.
So humor is humor. That's what I was getting at.
And you know, I hear a lot of like stories and anecdotes from people where it's like they'll show brick films and audiences who are not familiar with Lego in terms of the hobby or even in terms of brick filming, they will just find the literal act of Lego figures moving in stop motion hilarious in and of itself, which I find really interesting. So there is an inherent humor to Lego animation. That's how I ended up doing stop motion with Lego, because it was like, well, I could learn to make metal armatures and do latex molding and sculpt with clay and sew and do really fine detailing, or I could just make all that stuff out of Lego and make the camera rig out of Lego and make like hold the lights up with Lego.
Exactly.
It was very easy to sort of
there.
Yep. It's not out of the box necessarily, but it's all
out of a Lego box.
Yeah. There are techniques that can work for anything.
Sure. And this is maybe a tangent to all of this, but reflectivity in Lego and reflectivity's impact on the telling of a story, or like when it's bad, when it's good. maybe just a little bit about that?
Now, do you mean reflectivity in the sense of like, oh god, these lights won't stop shining, or reflectivity like, let me think back to some of the stories that have been told?
The latter one is good, but I
Right.
mean the lights just shining and just like, oh my gosh, it looks like we're just mirrors on mirrors.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Lego bricks are the most reflective thing in the world. No, not true. Hyperbole. No, but it is a challenge to constantly have to be vigilant and be like, oh, there will be times when a character is like moving like this, and just that one frame of like in the middle is like it'll shoot the light right into the camera, and you're like, wait, was that a mistake? Let me go back and look. Let me retake that frame, and it's still shooting the light right into the camera. You're like, okay, there's no fixing that. So then it becomes a toss up of, do you have the animation look a little wonky, or do you have the lighting look a little wonky?
Yeah.
And you know, filmmaking in and of itself is like a million decisions that you're making on and on and on. So, and that's just one of them.
That's amazing. Well, David, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.